Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Campbell.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, today we're going to do a post-observation meeting. I observed your class last week, and I just wanted to kind of talk to you about some evidence that I found within it. Did you have a chance to look at the evidence sheet that I gave you?
Yes. I was looking at this and I noticed that A was representing that kids were on task, and you had symbols for whether or not they were on task or talking or going to the bathroom or eating or whatever the case was.
Mm-hmm.
It was broken down by time. It seems as though, to my astonishment, that most of the kids were on task most of the time. And the data looks pretty good.
Very good. So why do you said that you feel like you're astonished by it? Why do you feel so astonished by it?
Well, because sometimes when doing projects it seems a little chaotic and you're running around trying to help students and you don't always know exactly what's always going on at every moment around the classroom during a project. So it's good to know that the instructions were clear and that the kids knew what they were doing and that they were on task even when I wasn't blatantly right next to them. So.
So do you think that you did anything differently to prepare for this lesson that made them, to get this because this is some excellent data. We have, as I saw it throughout the whole class, you had about 12 out of 13 students who were consistently working. You actually, at the end of it, you had all 13 out of 13 groups kind of working. Did you do anything differently, you think, to kind of get them that on-task rate?
I would have to say the one thing that was a little bit different was there was written instructions that went step by step through the whole procedure of how to create the project and what needed to be where. And we really, every single day I went over the expectations of where I wanted them to be and what I wanted them to get done. So I think that's probably what helped them stay on task and they knew what they needed to do.
Okay.
So.
And so was that, so this was something that you took a lot of planning as well, so you've been doing, how long did it take you to kind of put this project together? Or how long were the students working on it?
They were working on it for about I would say with prior content and also working on the project, probably about a week.
Okay.
And they also, I've taught this lesson multiple times over the years, so I've kind of worked out the quirks and understood what needs to be, focused on a little bit more.
Okay.
But yeah.
Is there anything that you think you would like to have done differently? I know there was a couple points in the lesson where there was just like two students who weren't working or they were talking, and I think what I noticed with that, sometimes you were helping another group and those other kids kind of started talking. Do you have any strategies to kind of think that, to kind of keep everybody going? I know 11 out of 13 is great, but is there anything that 100% would be fantastic, right? So.
Well, maybe just reiterating to the kids that if they get stuck on one part, they can always move on to another part of, of the lesson, and also to keep them aware of the fact that there are instructions, help them to become a little bit more self-motivated, because the instructions specifically tell them what is the next step. So they easily could have just read through and saying, what was the next step. Or I also could have posted my example up in the front of the classroom so that they could see it and go and reference that if they were struggling on a different part, and they could look at a physical example of it.
And so yeah, with that, another thing that I noticed in your class is that your proximity, I thought, was excellent. Every time students did need help, you were there within 30 or 40 seconds, and I think that kind of really directed it. If you notice, some of the students, they were off task at the beginning, but as soon as you went over there to kind of help them, that kind of changed dramatically, and I think that's I like.
They stayed on task.
And then they stayed on task for the rest of the way, and I think that's kind of a great, your example of what you said of writing those ideas on the board to kind of give them that visualization. I think is a fantastic strategy that will kind of, I think, improve that as well.
The other thing I could have done with these two kids, to be honest, is I could have separated those two for the day. Those two are rather good friends, and they like to chat a little bit, so I think that also could have led to why they were a little off task too.
Did you do any planning in terms of structuring the groups, or did you just kind of let them sit where they wanted to?
They have freedom to sit where they choose in that class, especially being such a small class.
Okay. Excellent. And so what I kind of use this tool to kind of observe you in two different domains. One of them was domain 3C, the engaging students in learning. And I think, from this data, like I said, for the majority of the class, you had 12 out of 13 students going on average. And so I think that's an excellent mark. And then also just managing student behavior. And again, I didn't notice any behavior issues at all. I mean, the talking that was going on was very minimal. It lasted for a very, very short time, and after that, they were back on task. With those, I was going to say too, if I had to kind of give you a number of proficiency level for each of those things, I would say you're definitely in managing student behavior. I'd actually give you a level 4. I mean, I thought, like I said, I did not see anything in there at all. So I thought that would be the distinguished level. And in terms of the actually engaging student in the learning, I would kind of give you a proficient level 3. Because as I said, most students were all engaged in the task. They were all working. Do you have any thoughts or feedback in terms of those levels, or how do you think those ratings are?
I think that's, for that class specifically, I think the managing the student behavior, I've, really established, expectations for that class. As a goal, I'd like to have all of my classes look like that class. And then the student engagement, I think there are ways that I can make that better. Like we said before, like with establishing groups and having the exemplar available for the students, and maybe establishing groups where students are going to be most productive.
Okay.
So.
No, I think those are good ideas. I think, like I said, the engagement was definitely there. I think by establishing those groups, as you said, that would kind of increase that engagement and kind of even maybe get them more in deeper levels of thought. And also providing that example, I think, is a good idea. All right, so then I think next semester I'll kind of come in and I'll make sure that you kind of have that exemplar template up there to kind of show the students what they're looking at. I think too, we can do some professional development just as a group, not just with you, but as an entire school to kind of show how we can kind of plan better to get kids engaged in some of these projects. And I think that's a great goal too, because as I said, what I saw in there, I saw a lot of students working. I didn't see any misbehavior. I think that's kind of a great goal to kind of get those into your other classes, and we should look at some of your other classes besides that 5th hour.
Absolutely.
All right, well, it was a pleasure observing you and having this conference.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.